We're finally here. Hey everybody, Dragon King Mark here, and welcome to the finale episode of Let's Play Pyre. Last we left off, we fought the Chastity, but won the match by default because they never showed up. And we made our way back to the Fall of Solium and made some last minute preparations for the final Liberation Rite. Now, this is it. The last rite of the game. Let's get this over with. You have gained the summit of Mount Eladio for the 7th time. Very few stars remain above to light your ways. You await the commencement of the final Liberation Rite. The moment shall find you clutching the Book of Rites, seeking there perhaps some bit of wisdom that has eluded you thus far. Reader, we may not have a chance to speak again after this. I may have to go. I wish to say that I am grateful for having made your acquaintance, and I shall remember you with fondness. I wish you well this night and always. Go forth with glory. Then he looks up and extends his hand in friendship. You clasp it. You see Faye has joined you. All of your companions are there with her, in fact. Oh, hi mister. The others, they say they wanted me to join them and come talk to you. So here I am. The Scribes are watching us. Greeting one. Thou both are both wiser and less irritating than most others of that kind. We have learned something from thee, and we are grateful. Tizo wants you to know that he has the utmost faith in you. Look upon your fellow exiles, your companions, with whom you have withstood the downside, and with whom you shall now conduct this final rite. Begging your pardon, but my time has come. We shall see each other soon. He departs. After this night, the outcome of Ulfred's plan, the plan of which you all have been a part of, shall be decided, one way or another. For now, all you can do is strive to prevail against your final adversaries, so at least one companion may go free. You rise to join your fellow exiles as the last remaining stars ignite. The final liberation rite of this age shall now commence. Let us bring about harmony. We already took care of the stars last episode. Let's go. It's time we face down Orlek once and for all. Having come this far, you need but take the final steps upon your quest for freedom. I gotta say, this game was a journey.
Look, for one last time, upon the fall of Solium, dear reader. Hear me, for one last time. For soon, the few remaining stars shall fade away, leaving you stranded there for your remaining days, in that forsaken land where you deserve to be. The rabble that you roused here in the Commonwealth shall be put down. The exiles whom you liberated, all shall fall in line. But first, let us get on with this last Liberation Rite. You face none other than yourselves. Each so unlike the glorious Nightwings of yore. 'Tis a shame that one of you shall soon be free. For you deserve each other.
Screw you. The pyre is burned and each of the triumvirate is present and prepared. Before the little minstrel can concur as per the custom. Not another word. Demon Orlek slowly raises his clawed fingers to his mask. The false Nightwings have arrived, at last. Long have I awaited this. My freedom once was stolen from me. Then I was cheated of it here upon this mountaintop. You may now attempt to take it from me once more. He stands there for a moment, silent, then Orlek dons his mask and stands prepared. May these damned rites cease forever, for the misery which they caused. Oh. Nightwings, We shall not meet again after tonight, for the cycle of the rites is all but ended. Thus, I would have your decision. On whose behalf shall you conduct this final liberation rite? The one whom you know, or this else the exile Orlek shall be returned. Godspeed, reader. You know what it is at stake better than I. I have utmost faith in you to make the best decision and conduct this rite with glory. Nightwings, the remaining stars, the stars remaining light grows dim. Your decision, please. It is time now for you to choose if anyone among you shall go free this last time. The rest of you shall remain in the downside till the end of your days. One by one, you meet the gazes of each of your fellow exiles. Tizo, Faye, Bertrude, your fellow exiles, your companions, your friends. Together you have come this far, but now the downside and the rights conspire to tear your group apart and disrupt your plan. Yep. There's no turning back. The fate of your friends at the Commonwealth may hinge on the decision you are about to make. But at a glance, you reassure your fellow exiles that you know what to do.
One final opportunity for salvation.
Or
Too
exile.
bad for the rest of you.
Insubordination. You refused to direct order to return to tending casualties on the blood border. The records show he harbored sympathies for the enemy and showed lone love for country. He was repulsed by what he saw on the blood border, which sowed in his heart a yearning for greater peace. He tried to use his influence to negotiate a treaty with the Highwing remnants, but not everyone was swayed. When they received direct orders to return to the front, when he refused to soil his hands again, they cast him down. There in time, he became affiliated with the Nightwings and grew to be one of their finest rite conductors, until tragedy struck and he was left clinging to life at foot of the sacred mountain. His glory. Oh crap. A female imp. We have no fondness for the Commonwealth. Though should we return unto that realm, we shall endeavor to transform it in accordance with our plan. You chose his cast. As for your other companions, you sense a clarity of thought and purpose in each of them. They stand ready to support Bertrude as well as you.
Who shall be at her side? Faye!
Blessed are the Scribes who grant to me and all of us this final chance, that we might free our dear friend Bertrude. Tizo was ready to do whatever it takes to see Bertrude regain her freedom this night. Those of you my adversaries then. And who is it, I wonder? Who asserts his will over that group? You sense Orlek searching for you, almost reaching out to you. You, the shadow of the false Nightwings. They are nothing to me, but you who would relinquish your own liberty for the sake of them. Strange. It is fitting, then, that I should have to face one such as you. Then Orlek stands at the ready, signaling for his two allies to do the same. By the dawn of light, the cycle of the right shall cease. Let us see if we can finish this ordeal before that time. The sky above begins to shudder. The final liberation rite is about to commence. Tariq. Hi, I am prepared, Celeste. Then, let our song this evening shake the stars themselves. Alright, Celeste. Let's make sure of it. The hell? There we go. What? Tizo? Tizo fumbles with his mask. Tizo recognizes Orlek and greets him tentatively. It's good to see you. Orlek reaches for his mask and turn. How was the horn mended? Tizo indicates his wound has not bothered him for a long time now, and thanks to Orlek for it. Good. Full recovery then. But It is unfortunate to see you standing there with them, Tizo. Come with us. No questions asked. Proposition seems to catch Tizo off guard. Tizo indicates that he will not abandon his friends or their quest. Tizo seems to be pleading with Orlek to stand down, to listen, to not give in to anger. Orlek shakes his head. He puts his mask back on. This is something I must do, little one. Tizo dons his mask in turn. He chirps nothing more. The final rite.
The final chance at liberation for the age.
Oh no. Whoa! Nice. No! Oh crap. Nice. Oh crap. Quick. Slither! Yes! Disguise right, Ash. Soon shall your Pyre summons mingle with them. Just then the skies above begin to rain down fire. The final throes of the cycle of the rites and the ending of the age. What? Oh! God! Whoa, what the frick? Jeez, I didn't even realize this guy could do that. Oh, we were so close. Okay, I didn't know he could do that. Flap Tizo!
Ferocity unbridled.
No! Oh, that's gonna sting. Whoa.
The orb is up.
Oh, crap. I'm so glad I'm not using any of the stars this time. Ah!
Tizo doused their pyre.
Ah. Oh, so close. Yes. Dang, Orlek is not holding back. So the false Nightwings bear their fangs at last. But this cannot be your finest effort. You think you deserve your freedom more than I? Then fight for it, damn you. Oh, we are fighting for it. You are.
That grown old and bitter lo these many years. 'Twas a crushing blow against the pyre.
Orlek stands, breathing heavily. Looks back on the thin lick of flame that is his smoldering pyre before turning his attention back to triumvirate. Oof. Oh crap.
Contempt. The orb was cast into your pyre.
You still got plenty of flame. Whoa. Crap.
Another banishment.
Oh, crap. Yep. Oh, good.
Glorious.
Wow. Ah! Sweet! Blah! Oh, this is not gonna be good. I saw a bit of the Dragon Prince I finished up watching the Dragon Prince last night. Gotta say, we're loving season 2. All of you, you shall rot here. You shall rot as I have all these many years. You false Nightwings, who would deny me once again my rightful liberty. You who would deny that liberty to all the Trevords you face and vanquish, under the guise of the traditions of those blasted scribes. Come, let's continue with this glorious affair. Dang. I don't think Rythian actually ever did this far. Yark Rythian did a Let's Play of Pyre. I don't think he actually ever got this. You don't. Oh, come on! Yes!
There it is. The Nightwings proved their worth. An outcome which left little room for doubt. Thus ends the Liberation Rite. And thus, the Scribes have chosen
a foreseeable outcome, and the one which we desired. Look upon Bertrude, from what you expect shall be the last time you shall see each other. Any moment now the Shimmer Pool shall engulf her. Any moment now she shall return in glory and join Volfred's agents in the Commonwealth to help achieve the plan. Any moment now the cycle of the Rite shall end, until at least the dawn of a new age. Any moment now.
And thus, the Scribes have chosen. And thus, the Scribes have chosen. And thus, the Scribes have chosen.
What's going on?
No. Nightwings. Reader. What have you done?
Hey, don't look at us, man. We don't know what the hell's going on either. Urgh. Unfortunate results, now coupled with an inauspicious turn. Each time prior to the fall of Solium, the Shimmer Pool has opened, following the Liberation Rite, and taken in whichever exile had prevailed. But now all is still, and the lightest of the stars has all but died. Since a growing fear that it is already too late, the Shimmer Pool shall not reveal itself again. Oleg approaches, his head bowed. The Scribes saved their greatest treachery for last. Then something else catches his notice. Wait. A sudden rush of starlight cascades through the stillness of the summit. The Shimmer Pool has appeared again, different, somehow, but open. Bertrude looks upon it, but it does not engulf her, or at least not yet. It seems there was mistake in that. The 8 Scribes. This is not their greatest treachery, it is their greatest jest. The Shimmer Pool is flung wide open. It seems that all are worthy now of freedom. Orlek strides toward the Shimmer Pool, but... Halt, Orlek. Orlek glances over at the lone minstrel, almost in surprise. The Shimmer Pool has lost most of its strength. You step inside and you shall surely drown, or of that I can assure you. He laughs to himself at this. Then, we've all been cheated. No. The Shimmer Pool is revealed and one of you may still return as planned. But, as for who returns, someone shall have to choose, ere the last light of the lights is extinguished and the right cease to be. This is the final trial of the Scribes. The final trial of the Scribes. Then, our confrontation. The Liberation Rite. It all was meaningless? No. The victor of the confrontation is the one to make the choice among those closest to the Scribes. Is the anointed or he who anointed them? Then, we may still return, although perhaps the reading one may leave this place instead. Urgh. Aye, it shall be either you, the reader, or... It shall be either or. Gertrude, please make your decision quickly, lest it shall be forfeit. I do not know for how long, much longer the light of the star shall offer you this gift. We mislike having to rush unnecessarily, and yet we are decided here in this. We believe it ought to be the reading one which shall return. Go now from this place. Gertrude wishes to give up her freedom so that you may regain yours. Very well. Reader, sir, the choice which Bertrand made, or rather, the choice which she gave, it is now yours to make instead. Choice. And they keep bouncing back and forth like this. Absurd. It may, until such time as one of you is willing to accept the burden and the outcome of the choice, as the trial, and I fear there is little time remaining now. Reader, if you or your companion are too cordial with each other to accept that freedom, either one of you, then I shall gladly take it. Freedom ought to be more than just some virtuous trifle to exchange. Reader, what is your will? Who will go free? This is your chance, and Bertrude wished that you should take it. Your intention last night was for her to return in glory, and shall be done. He earned his rightful freedom long ago. He deserves his justice. Ourself, Bertrude, or Orlek? I only had the intention of giving my friends out there, and I did. I don't think Bertrude wants to go back either. So I think the only logical choice is Orlek. Your thoughts crystallize. You have chosen Orlek. What? Orlek, do you accept the reader's choice, or shall you make another? No, I shall not make another. Now I accept the reader's choice, the reader's mercy. Then it is done. For a moment, Orlek appears to be at peace, and then he is gone. Orlek regained his freedom. Accept this, for it is done.
Godspeed, Orlek. By the Scribes. No stars remain aloft. The cycle of the rites.
He is done.
It is finished. The Commonwealth. What shall become of it? What shall become of us? Nightwings. The opportunity to gain your freedom from the downside.
This is
Was
so
it not
cool.
enough?
And that's it. I could have chosen to take Orlek, but I could have chosen myself. No. I think this is best. And that night, the exile Orlek returned to the Commonwealth. He was to be the last. The stars had faded, and the cycle of the rites had run its course. He found the Commonwealth in great upheaval. Spurred by the efforts of the 6 liberated exiles, Wilfred Sandalwood's revolutionary plan had incited the masses. These exiles in the starless sky portended the return of the Scribes. People surged into the streets shoulder to shoulder. Led by the 6 exiles, their voices shook the heavens. The leadership of the Commonwealth panicked. No blood was shed that night, and by dawn it was over. The leaders of the Commonwealth had cast themselves back into exile, or joined in this new cause. Thus, in the 838th year, the Commonwealth had fallen. The new Saharian Union declared its sovereignty in the next year. Among the changes its elected leaders ushered in, they vowed never to cast their people in exile, and they abolished the old Commonwealth decree forbidding literacy. Today, we still remember all of this. And we remember the exiles on the downside, whose deeds led to the dawning of our age, whether they returned or not. Oh! True freedom. These are all the people we met. Let's start with... Where are you? Choose someone to learn what became of them since last you met. Hedwyn. After his liberation, Hedwyn was instrumental in the events leading to the fall of the Commonwealth and was vital to the outcome of the plan. The peaceful outcome of the Scribes' return was attributed to several key factors. One of them was the underlying ambition of the plan itself. Scribes returned. Inspired by liberated exiles, the people of the Commonwealth demanded new leadership. Cast yourselves down. Cast yourselves down. Chant from the Scribes' return. Another was Hedwyn's visibility among the people of the streets. Identified to be a liberated exile, he was believed to be Gogol Thalion reborn. More importantly, however, was one of the winged harps of the High Wing remnants accompanied him. She was later identified as Fakani Shang. A harpoon Hedwyn cared deeply. They were separated when Hedwyn was exiled. Their bond was symbolic of what was at stake that night, and proved vital to the peace that followed. In all his days as a leader of the Saharian Union, Hedwyn often confided with his friend Jodariel. Our nation, formed in 839 AS after the fall of the Commonwealth. Despite her intense manner, there was no one whom he trusted more in times when this circumspection was required. Hedwyn went on to think back about the vow he made at the beginning of his quest for freedom. Although he cherished all his friendships he made, he had pledged Jodariel, Rookie, and the Reader of the Nightwings they may all be free again together. You, the Reader, you were an exile of the Commonwealth sentenced to life in the downside. Once merely the status of a deviant, yet now a revered title in the Saharian Union. He had broken that vow, for in the end, not all of them were able to return. A terrible guilt over his darkened mood for a time. However, the others whom he knew still lifted his spirits, much like he had often lifted theirs. All of the Nightwings knew the stakes. While the others who stood with the Nightwings were not all able to remain in contact with us, Hedwyn thought of each of them often, and so in turn did they all think of him. Rookie. After Rookie Greentail earned back his freedom, he returned to a lavish welcome ceremony in the Commonwealth, as was the tendency for liberated exiles. It was everything he had hoped for, and soon he was well off, surrounded by luxury, and choosing between various exciting opportunities. However, he must have given in to his better judgment, as he did end up siding with Wilfred Sandalwood's revolutionary forces as he promised. On the night of the Scribe's return, Greentail was there with the others, inspiring the masses. He never looked prouder, the very image of Jomir Manymane himself. When dawn finally came and it became clear that the Commonwealth that everybody knew would be no more, he realized many new opportunities awaited. He began quite a lucrative career for himself, manufacturing and selling replica merchandise inspired by the downside. His main struggle was to meet demand. An aspect of his conscience cautioned him against making light of such a thing, but the money was too good, and soon his family was as well off as he always said. One of his orders of business was to seek out one of his old companions, Panther Thane, to whom he took a liking during their quest for freedom. They bonded further over love of drink and supported one another through uncertain times that lay in store. He also kept close touch with Gilman, ever the perfect practice partner. They would train together often, taking care to stay in tip-top shape as much as possible throughout the years. Greentail always did his best to keep in touch with all his many friends, and knew that he owed his fortunes to them. He made a special point to staying close with a group of friends he came to know so well during his time with the Nightwings, wherever they were. They shared a special understanding that put even Greentail at a loss for words sometimes. Aw, he didn't forget! Jodariel. After her liberation, Jodariel soon became an icon of the movement that led to the collapse of the Commonwealth and the rise of the Saharian Union. Her horns and stern countenance inspired the people to believe that she was solely a Mer, reborn. She became a great if reluctant leader. In uncertain times that followed, Jodariel's seasoned expertise often came into play both in matters of security and of state. For instance, she conscripted and trained a team of volunteers in public safety. The community did not know what to make of such a cordial bunch, but soon came to value their service. They have stood for the people ever since, and we celebrate their founding founding day each year. She remained close with Hedwyn all through this experience, and they supported each other through their struggles many times. She often had to stop herself from fearing for Faye, whom she had tried to look after as much as possible on the downside. Soon, she would reassure herself that Faye was very capable of surviving on her own, and in fact, was not mistaken. She continued training on her own, a regimen that grew stricter with each passing year. There were those who sought to train with her, and sometimes she obliged. There remained one other constant in her life. She would always remember her days among the Nightwings, and with fondness, for the most part. Faye. Long after the rites had ended, Faye admitted that she knew well before the fact that she would not be going home again. At least, she had a very strong feeling. She ended up not minding very much, because she had little to return to in the Commonwealth. The sense of home had changed. She took to wandering from one celestial landmark to the next, even paying homage to the 8 Scribes, whom she believed had influenced all that transpired. She was no stranger to traveling alone, but was always happy to have company. Among her friends, she always remained close to Petizo, who, more than anyone, could always make her laugh. Though they would not see each other any longer, Faye often thought of Jodariel and spoke to her as though she were there. They tried never to make a decision without first consulting her idea of what Miss Jodariel might say. Whenever she felt genuine doubt, which was not very often, she thought of the reader of the Nightwings. If there was anyone who she trusted as much as the Scribes, it was him. One day, she encountered one of her former adversaries, one called Almer Oldheart, who had served the Fate. She remembered him much more than he did her, though only just at first. Their shared experience in the rites and their different points of view about the Scribes formed the basis of what grew to be a long-standing relationship. Faye always was devoted to her faith, but more so to her friends. Her gentle manner and unwavering conviction often helped them brave life in the downside, both with courage and with grace. So they did hook up! I knew it! Tizo. Once the rites had ended, Tizo had a job to do. Quite unlike most exiles trapped forever in the downside. The lone minstrel asked that he watch over the Black Wagon, which the Nightwings had used extensively for travel and for shelter all throughout their quest. Tizo obliged, for he knew that the wagon, as well as its tribe of inhabitants, perhaps better than anyone. What became of the wagon exactly was never verified, as evidence of Tizo's thorough work. After that, he liked to while away his days with any of his friends, or else with fellow imps. He would visit his friend Faye at every opportunity. She was among the few who could constantly interpret what he meant, and they were always close since first they met. Beaufort Sandoval would sometimes send him little gifts all the way from the downside. Despite the insurmountable distance between them, their friendship proved more than resilient. He often chirped about the reader of the Nightwings, whom he built quite a rapport. The reader understood him perhaps better than anyone. Indeed, Tizo will often express wistful gratitude for all his times with the Nightwings, and their many adventures throughout the land that he always called home. Older than that, Tizo would sometimes help interpret it for messenger imps relaying news to any and from the Saharan Union. Despite having gained significant celebrity abroad, he never let it go to his head. And he would go fishing in the Sea of Souls at every single chance he got. Gilman. When the worm Gilman returned to the Commonwealth, he believed he had regained something even more important than his freedom, his honor. Gilman relinquished his knighthood and declined an opportunity to serve as a captain on the Blood Border. He was not interested in fighting any longer. Yet, as is sometimes the case with those such as he, a circumstance soon came about in which there came a need for him to once again make use of his military training. Thankfully, however, the Scribes' return ended peacefully. Gilman was on edge throughout that night, expecting violence to erupt at any moment, but the moment never came. When the matter was at last put to rest, then Gilman truly knew his time as a knight had ended. He declared to all those in earshot that he would never fight again. Unless, of course, there aroused some other extraordinary set of circumstance, and again requiring him to fight, but he certainly hoped not. He still trained regularly, just in case, especially with his fleet-footed friend, Rookie Greentail. He was always grateful for having studied under the reader of the Nightwings, without whom he never would have completed his penance. Because of this, and perhaps they were on opposite sides of the world now, Gilman dedicated his life to him. By that point, he had long forgotten about his days under the leadership of Sir Deluge, his former commander. Breaking free of his abusive leadership was his first steps towards gaining a bit of self-respect. Gilman never did return to his homeland of the Sea Dominion, and was content to lead a monastic life in a small residence on the hills. It was just high enough to make him keep striving to conquer his fear of heights. Other than that, an intense daily training regimen and the occasional visit from an old companion was more than enough to keep him optimistic and engaged. He knew that by then that arm was not something to be won, but a contract with oneself to be renewed each day. Aww. Pamitha. After regaining her freedom, Pamitha Thane found herself in a difficult position. Having once betrayed her people of the Highwing Remnants, she knew that she would not be welcome in her native home. She did not trust the Commonwealth either. Instead, she found her place among Wilfred Sandalwood's agents, who were busy doing their part to fulfill the plan. As it turned out, the plan was a success. Pamitha Thane stood shoulder to shoulder with her other fellow former exiles, and truly, they were a sight to behold. The disturbing rumor later spread that night, the Highwing Remnants were slated to mount an assault, which for some reason never came to pass. Pamitha denied any knowledge or involvement. Afterward, Pamitha played an active part in negotiating terms between the Highwing Remnants and the new nation that would become our Saharan Union. Her previous attempt at something of the sort led to her exile. She must have felt some satisfaction to succeed this time around. Sometime later, Pamitha had an unexpected run-in with Rookie Greentail, whom she had spent a fair amount of time while traveling with the Nightwings. Under these new set of circumstances, it turned out the two had more to talk about, and rather more in common. It would often put to test which one was able to outdrink the other. It is unclear as to which one of them prevailed in that contest in the end. One day, Pamitha received an invitation to return to the Highwing Remnants, where she was to be fully pardoned. She had a lot of hope that she might see her blood sister Tamitha there, knowing full well that Tamitha did not regain her freedom. Tamitha did later learn that Pamitha was welcomed back by her people. However, she never responded to her blood sister's attempts to contact her. Tamitha in turn did not expect forgiveness from her at any point. Nonetheless, she kept on trying to reach out. She said to ruffle up her feathers just a bit. Later, when asked, Pamitha Thane admitted she felt as though she had no home to call her own. This was during an interview conducted amid an extensive trip abroad, for she had traveled thousands of leagues beyond the bounds of the Saharan Union. Pamitha continued to journey thus, citing that it reminded her of when she was younger and could fly unfeathered. Wilfred. When Wilfred Sandalwood regained his freedom, he knew that his work had only just begun. The nation that had exiled him to life in the downside now prepared to honor him, but he was not interested in such ceremony, nor in freedom on the Commonwealth's own terms. He soon rejoined his agents, with whom he had been coordinating for years, slowly, carefully preparing for a night that would soon come. For Sandalwood, his loyalists and sympathizers, true freedom was at stake, not just theirs, but that of everyone living under the Commonwealth. He had hoped to gather liberated exiles representing each of the eight largest ethnic groups composing the population of the Commonwealth. They would stand together as a vision of the eight Scribes returned, inspiring the masses to embrace an older set of values from before the Commonwealth had tightened its grip. With the rites having ended sooner than expected, this optimal scenario became impossible, but Sandalwood did not relent, and prepared to execute his plan, imperfect though it was. On the night of the Scribes' return, he stood as one of 6 former exiles from the Nightwings, and their voices echoed together throughout the streets. These former exiles, who ought to have disappeared into the ranks of the Commonwealth's own leadership, now stood united with its people, who poured from their homes in solidarity. It was imperative to Sandalwood that this stand against the Commonwealth be peaceful in its nature. An overwhelming show of popular support would be more than enough. Ensuring that his priority that night, and in the end the result was self-evident. The plan's goal had been achieved. Sandalwood's work was far from over still. He labored ceaselessly with representatives from across the population to restore a sense of stability. This transitional period had troubles, though none that were not quickly resolved. Such was the will and spirit of the people. They understood their freedom carried new responsibility. After the Saharian Union was born the next year, Sandalwood was elected as the nation's first prime minister. It was not his intent to run for this office, but the people chose him anyway. He led our fledgling nation through its nascent years. He evidently made amends with his one-time friend Orlek, with whom he clashed during their days in exile. Orlek was instated as the nation's chief physician and became a close confidant. As Wilfred Sandalwood gained more fame throughout this land for all his sacrifices and his contributions, he remained ever steadfast about two things. The first was that the cause itself ought to remain in focus. The freedom that the people had achieved was a gift to be cherished, a set of values that needed to be nurtured. The second point he made was that he himself had little to do with the outcome. He would often praise the exiles of the Nightwings who had stood with him, each in turn by name. He never forgot any of them. One day on his birthday, the people of the Saharian Union presented to him a monument depicting him and the Nightwings as imagined in their prime. It has since ensured that those of us with memories more valuable than that of Sandalwood likewise remember the achievements of his fellow former exiles in our cause. Dang! Prime Minister! Bertrude. Several exiles of the Nightwings cared more for the plan of Sandalwood than to return home from the downside. The crone called Big Bertrude was a prime example. She had found a suitable environment to live within the dismal region known as Flagging Hands. There she had built up a thriving place of business known to many exiles in the land. With the rites having ended, she returned to her preoccupations, working away almost as though nothing had happened. When one gets to become more than 400 years of age, perhaps even monumental events such as the culmination of the rites or the collapse of the Commonwealth are seen as trifling matters. Much of her effort was doubtless due to the influence of Sandalwood, someone whom she had admired now for decades. Though they were far apart now, she sought out news as to his whereabouts and found his actions in the Saharian Union a rare source of inspiration. By and large, Bertrude kept focused on her work. Whether casting small enchantments or imbuing talismans, the work brought her a sense of purpose, she would say. In the Commonwealth, such services were strictly forbidden, but on the downside, there was a real need for simple luxuries, which the complete flunk market could not always provide. Thus did Big Bertrude continue to live up to her name, and the tales of her days with the Nightwings made her that much more the living legend. Speaking of, with the rights drawn to a close, the slug market's revenues fell precipitously, and Falcon Rod was forced to liquidate his assets and close up shop. Yet, as is sometimes the case with those of an entrepreneurial leaning, this time of hardship led to an epiphany, or at least a sudden change in fortune. One day, Falcon Rod had a run-in with a messenger and bearing news from the other side. Ron gave it one of his remaining trinkets, which could not be sold. The following week, the messenger imp returned to him bearing a tidy sum of wealth in newly minted coinage from the Saharian Union. Falcon Run cut a long-term deal with the messenger imp, then and there. Though this trade remained a gray area from a legal standpoint in the Saharian Union, the newfound fame of the downside caused Falcon Rod's goods to explode in popularity. He later signed an elaborate agreement with Big Bertrude's and found a distribution partner on the other side through Rookie Greentail, whose own business had expanded. Especially in the Saharian Union, Falcon Rod's goods are still known for their superior quality, though he assumes no liability for any side effects. I knew he'd win. And Sandra. There we go. After the cycle of the rite ceased turning, records of what happened to the Black Wagon of the Nightwings became inconclusive and contradictory. Some accounts suggest that the exiles of the Nightwings, who remained at the downside, continued to make use of the Black Wagon as their place of shelter and their means of travel. However, there is no record of what happened to the wagon's contents, such as the Book of Rites or the Beyonder Crystal, said to be haunted by the apparition Sandra the Unseeing. One possibility is that when the low minstrel took his leave, he took the Beyonder Crystal with him, for he was thus obliged. By this line of reasoning, however, the Black Wagon itself should have been taken as well also. Others remain skeptical that the Beyonder Crystal ever existed, or rather, if the visions that it granted were anything other than the result of an active imagination or a fever dream. The bog dwellers of the southern bogs offer still another explanation, for they are familiar with the binding enchantments. If there existed such an object, in which the Sisters of the Ark had been expelled for more than 800 years, then the enchantment could have expired along with the light of the stars. What this would have meant for Sandra and the Beyonders is difficult to say for certain, other than it may have meant that they were finally released. Nevertheless, the fate of Sandra and the Beyonder Crystal remain unknown. Yet, those exiles of the Nightwings who claim to have seen this apparition all spoke of her with degrees of reverence or perhaps a little fear. Huh? Can you believe this, reader? Honestly. Sandra's appeared before you, as well as you can see. They are so far out from the mark with all this nonsense, I am wont to laugh. In fact, here goes. She laughs. She's referring to the account of her. You sense she does not care for it. Well, let them gossip all they like. I really wish that they would mention you at least in passing, when next they are at it. Though they shall never know even half of it, shall they? Humor her. Perhaps I say humor her. You indicate to Sandra that the real truth of what happened between you would perhaps make too lascivious a tale to be told in such a format. She makes a bemused sound at this. Perhaps that story ought to get out then. To think that they would go to all the trouble to make literacy acceptable once again, once to print such drivel. Anyway, let's keep going, lovely reader. We know the truth of it. That is what matters. She fades into the Beyonder Crystal for now, and you took it away safe. Well, I can definitely tell where that's gonna happen to them. After the final Liberation Rite, Lendl refused to believe that the rite had truly ended. He would sit through night after consecutive night, staring into the blackness of the sky, awaiting any kind of sign that he might gain another chance of freedom. No such sign ever came. His fellow accusers started to express concern for him. Survival had become their top priority once liberty had slipped from their grasp. But Lendl dismissed them as weak fools. He insisted rather forcefully that any evening now the stars would shine for him and mark the way toward his inevitable freedom. He was of course mistaken. The others in his triumvirate were left with little choice but to abandon him. After that, the exile known as Lendl the Liar was never seen again. However, there has since been sightings of a bed-dragon demon who wanders the downside and bears Lendl's cruel countenance, suggesting he yet lives. A fitting end for him. Dalbert. As the cycle of the rites drew to a close, it grew evident that a chance at freedom from the downside had forever slipped from Dalbert and Albert Old Paul's grasp. Thus, they and the exiles of the Fate journeyed to Jomir Valley. There they struggled to get by, as exiles of the downside tend to do. Sometime after the rites had ended, the old hearts at last heard news that the Commonwealth had fallen. This was well after the fact, of course, but it brought old Dalbert great joy. Despite his forthright manner, he had no love for the nation that cast him down, along with his son. Dalbert Oldheart passed peacefully in his sleep before the next new moon. Oh my god! I liked him! He was like the Decker Kane, but in dog form. In his final days, he implored his son to undertake a pilgrimage to the Scribes. Almer never shared his father's view of the Scribes, but respected Dalbert's wishes, and so, after a period of mourning, Almer began a new journey. One day during his travels, he ran almost headlong into another exile after paying homage to the spring of Jomir. He was stunned to find that it was none other than the one he knew as Faye, from their days as adversaries in the Rites. Faye was overjoyed to see him, though Almer wasn't able to bring himself to understand why. Eventually, of course, he did, and they remained together, growing ever more accustomed to their new lives on the downside. Now a day went by that Almer Olhart did not think about his father, and gave thanks to him, and to speak to him at morning and at night. Would that the stars ever shone, for surely Dalbert would be there among them, smiling down at his son, and watching over him and his kin. Well, that was nice. Faye and Almer became a couple. Cute. After the cycle of the rites had ceased, Witch Udmilde returned to the Flagging Hands region, where she sealed herself within the Pyre Malith. There, even her fellow exiles with withdrawn allegedly grew unnerved after a time, and left her to her vile work. Sometime later, the Pit of Malith erupted into flame, so intense that the conflagration that it could be seen all the way from Jomir Valley. Arson was suspected, though the cause was never verified, and many bog dwellers in the region were forced to flee. A tempest blowing from the north finally quenched the flames. When at last the ashes settled, and the grounds had cooled, the side of the fire was scarred beyond recognition. No trace of Witch Udmilde could be found. As for the contents of the Pit of Malith, which notably included a profane object thought to belong to the remains of Yslok, all of it was gone as well. Back in the Sahara Union, Udmilde's repeated threats of the return of Yslok were thoroughly investigated. No credence was found to any of her claims. So I think she's dead. Now the Pyre Hearts. All his life, Sir Deluge had fled from one danger only to find himself facing another. He had escaped the war-torn waters of the Sea Dominion. He had escaped the blood border of the Commonwealth, and now he had escaped the Rites. After the Rites had ended, many exiles wrapped up in the ancient test were crestfallen, as their last chances to return to their homes vanished, along with the stars above. But Deluge did not mind, for this outcome meant that, at last, there was no burden of responsibility weighing down on him. While most of his exiles of the Pyre Hearts yet longed for the waters of the Sea Dominion, driven as ever by their impulses towards conflict, Deluge settled down. With him remained one of his companions, one Lady Seagrass, who had taken a liking to him for some reason. She is a Worm Knight duty-bound to serving Sir Deluge in the Pyre Hearts. Reportedly, they disappeared into the waters of the Worm Gulf, which may begin to explain the significant increase in worm population observed in the vicinity. Barker. Bark Rashpaws never had much interest in returning to the Commonwealth, but he always found its laws to be stifling, so when the Rites ended, he did not care at first. He soon grew very bored. The Rites had given his life a new sense of structure that he always had needed. He missed the raw anticipation of it all. He decided to continue conducting the Rites for the thrill of it. He bent some of the rules and replaced some of the objects, but it was close enough. His packmate, in this instance, proved more than happy to participate, and thus they ran against each other in Jomir Valley. Gradually, other exiles familiar with the Rites, as well as those who had not heard of it at all, started to take an interest. They ended up giving Buck Rashpaw some healthy competition. Zolfio Drugi Greentail ceased meaning anything to him, and he forgot all about it amid his new pursuits. Ultimately, even Bark Rashpaws, who had led such a directionless existence to that point, found something of a calling through the Rites. Whether he took the Rites less seriously than any other exile of his time or more as oft debated by those who watched him work. So basically, Barker created a basketball league. That's cool. Tamitha. Throughout her exile, Tamitha Thane was motivated by a single goal: to return to the Commonwealth and exact vengeance on her ancient enemies. When she realized the Rites had ended, and that she would never see her mountain home again, she nonetheless remained determined to aid her people however possible. She gathered certain information pertaining to the intentions of the Nightwings, who had formed a pact to regroup on the other side after the liberation. Other such reports exposed certain weaknesses in the Commonwealth's defenses and revealed to the Highwing remnant the opportunity for a risky but potentially impactful strike. As Tamatha could not participate in the assault, she learned what happened well after the outcome. On that night, and as the Scribes returned, the Commonwealth had fallen. The Highwing remnants thus prevailed at last without even having to fight. Soon after the fall of the Commonwealth, Tamatha learned her blood sister Pamatha was an accessory to the successful outcome. Tamatha was very skeptical of this, but as similar reports kept mounting, she soon accepted the prevailing opinion, however grudgingly. Once, a messenger imp arrived bearing some sort of message seemingly from Pamatha. However, Tamatha turned it away. She would not give in to an impulse to forgive. Knowing that the conflict on the other side had ended, Tamatha retreated to the crags of Black Basin and grew ever more distant. Those closest to her surmised that her inability to reconcile with her blood sister was at the heart of this, though for her part, Tamatha never once admitted to any such weakness. Figures. Manly. When Manly Tinderstoff realized that the rites had ended, and he no longer could return to the Commonwealth through this ancient means, he was outraged. He cursed the Scribes, spewing forth such a slew of blasphemy as to be very becoming of one of his high status and bearing. When at last he calmed himself, he focused all his energies on attempting to find another means of homecoming. He maintained regular contact with his wealthy family on the other side via messenger imp, and used their vast resources to explore other means of escape. He tried using an elaborate pulley system. He attempted to retrofit a flying black wagon with superior propulsion. He tried an imp raft, a hot air balloon, even prayer. Nothing worked. There was only one way to escape the downside, and now it was gone. Tinderstoff bankrupted his family in these vain attempts. At last, such was his shame that he retreated to the feeding woods of Black Basin, Cinderroot. There he yet wallows, complaining to his comrades of the chastity who still put up with him, either about his own misfortune or the latest news from the other side. Once it became clear to Ignorance that the rites were drawn to a close, he knew that it was time for him and the Tempers to call it quits. But first, he and the Tempers decided to celebrate, and that they did for many, many nights. Their revelry did eventually subside, the exiles parted amicably, and went their separate ways. He roamed the downside then, searching for some meaning in his life, rather than taking odd jobs requiring his brute strength. He never remained alone for very long, and took on many lovers in his time. However, he sometimes thought of the one he had called Curlyhorn, and what became of her. Though his glory days as the most powerful conductor of the rites had long since passed, he always enjoyed the fearsome reputation he had cultivated at the time. Well, he at least gained some, I guess, good to this. Orlek. In the aftermath of the final Liberation Rite, Orlek had last returned to his nation, one he had not seen in nearly 2 decades. He scarce recognized it. After all, it was in the midst of transformation, a social and cultural upheaval sparked by Volfred Sandalwood's plan. When Orlek witnessed the people of the Commonwealth, standing shoulder to shoulder and chanting together on the night of the Scribes' return, he took on in silence for a time. And he stepped toward the crowd. A murmur and hush moved through the gathered citizens at the sight of him, for they had never seen someone thus changed by the downside. But then Orlek raised his voice with theirs, and they all stood united once again. History would know him as the Demon Doctor, a term of endearment that struck even after his horn started to recede. He lent his skill and service throughout the birth of the Saharian Union. The one that he had called the Shadow of the False Nightwings was someone who he had thought of often. He knew he owed his freedom to him. In life, having witnessed the aftermath of Sandalwood's plan, Orlek sought out his former companion. While they kept private the details of the conversation that took place, it must have been enough to rebuild the bonds of friendship between the two of them. They were often seen together after that. Alone with his thoughts, Orlek would sometimes visit the memorial to the fallen leaders of the Commonwealth. Though, other than such opinions, and notwithstanding his duties as master physician of the state, Orlek led a very private life. Few would have guessed that he once was the most accomplished rites conductor in the history of the Nightwings. History, of course, shall ensure we shall never forget. I'm glad we chose him. Now, Tariq and Celeste. After the cycle of the rites ceased turning, the little minstrel bade the remaining Nightwings back take the Black Wagon and seek their fortunes elsewhere on the downside. Their parting was heartfelt but brief. He remained there at the summit of Mount Eladio with Celeste, where the two of them would chronicle the final outcome of the cycle. Neither Tariq nor Celeste were ever seen again. We all know all this now through song attributed to them. Some claim these songs originated in the taverns of the Saharian Union and mainly were imbued with the weight of folklore. However, exiles liberated from the downsides corroborated each other's claims at having met these duo that presided over the Liberation Rites. Other folktales suggest that these minstrels were heralds of the Scribes, having fulfilled their obligations, they departed the world we know and rejoined their patrons. One of their famous songs describes another, simpler outcome, that the two gave up their duties to the rites in favor of a life that they could share together. In any case, they are likely to remain the object of such verses and songs, for it is they who watched over the rites and ushered in our times. And there is one more account which warrants mention. The Nightwings conducted the rites under the guidance of a reader. That's us! Little is known of him. However, some accounts of him begin to paint a picture. We know he was of common birth, weak-framed though raised with a penchant for learning. The journey to the downside left him close to death. It was then that the Nightwings found him. They brought him from the brink. He showed them the path. He pressed onward with the others. He made a vow to help his friends be free. Thus did the cycle of the rites commence its final turns. When the final rite arrived, the reader's freedom was at stake. In the end, however, he remained in exile. From that point on, accounts of him diverge. It is said that the voice, which troubled him, he never heard again. Some say he helped improve the lives of the other downside exiles. Though whether that is true, only he knows. Someday, perhaps that reader's own star shall emerge. Then, it shall pierce the dark of night in all its brilliant glory. Until such time, and even after, all of us give thanks. And with that, that's the end of Pyre. Well, I gotta say, this was one heck of a game. I'm gonna say this now, I mean, this game was amazing to play. I mean, I had a lot of fun, just, the gameplay itself was interesting because honestly, like, this was just that one game, like, Supergiant Games is known to making games that just differentiate between each other. And honestly, it was fun just to, you know, play all the different games. I mean, Bastion, Transistor, and now this. So, honestly, I really liked how this was all done. Like, I mean, I really am glad I got this game. I could finally play it. It was fun. And honestly, whew, very tough. I mean, at first... Oh! Edwin! Looks like Edwin just cooking for the gang during their time on the downside. Oh, there's Tizo, Faye, all of them playing cards. Supergiant Games. And this is the end credits. So honestly, I'm happy that I got this game. I mean, this game was fun. I just realized I think some of the stars correspond to each other, but I think that's Faye. That's fair. That's fair. I really like how this game makes you like care about all the characters, like how each of the characters have their own story and their own reason for being exiled. The Research Centaur, U, X, and Q and A. Aww, that's so cute. And Bertram's tossing the fish into the sea. That's just cute. I wish we could have seen a bit more scenes, you know, with the gang. But really, each of the games by Supergiant Games is all unique. Like, Bastion is... all of them are isometric, but all the games are unique. Like, Transistor and Bastion have some of the same things, but... like, between the idols of the Bastion, the chips, the... I think it's Sir Gilman? Yeah, Sir Gilman. The, and now the Titan Stars. And from what I can tell with, Hades, since they're making it, it has to involve something involving, I guess, the gods, or the Titans. Huh, Tamatha. Sir Gilman, Rookie, and Headwind ralphing over the side of the black wagon. I do love this design though for the in order of appearance. Joe Dario, Rookie, Headwind, Logan Cunningham, and Lendl. Lendl was the voice of Lendl and the voice were Logan Cunningham and Dalbert. Huh. Never knew that. Also, Bertrude was also Logan Cunningham. And Ignorius was also Logan Cunningham. Like, in all honesty, Logan Cunningham is like the best voice actor ever. Ah. Volfred, Bertrude, just planning out. Joe Dario and Pamatha just chilling over there, and Teaser just chilling right with the drive imps. I gotta admit, like, this is good. Special thanks. I gotta say, like, I love how all Supergiant games are all unique. Like, they don't have a set formula. Granted, they keep some elements, like, you know, the Titan Stars I just mentioned, and the isometric views. But other than that, all of them are unique. And with Hades focusing on the Greek mythology, I'm curious if they're ever going to do the Egyptian one next. Supergiant Games. Acknowledgements to thank all their families and friends whose support was essential to making this game. Oh my god, my throat. I hope I never have to talk again. And there we all are. Though we may not be together we may not be together physically, we are together in spirit. And I gotta admit, I love the designs of these drawings, like, for real. I wish they made an anime of this. Maybe it's just me wanting to make anime of certain things and stuff, but I feel this would have made a great anime. You know? I really hope that if there's another set of rights, we can become the voice of that era. Huh? That's a library. No way. This looks like the burnt library from the opening of the game, but instead it's not burnt. Sandalwood's plan succeeded. Now this isn't anything I could do. The end. Now this is an ending. True Nightwing campaign mode unlocked. There's options to return to the main menu. Well, with that, guys, I'm calling it for here for Let's Play Pyre. Tune in next time for my next Let's Play. What's that gonna be? Well, I won't spoil, but ever since I recently got it, and ever since the announcement of a certain sequel to it, I think you know what game we're gonna be playing next. I only hope my platforming skills are up to par with this game, because honestly, I'm scared shitless. Until then, I'm Drinking Mark. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified of all of my videos and uploads. Check out my Twitter if you want to be notified of if I'm going to be streaming, because I linked my Twitter to my YouTube. And I'll see you guys next time in the next Let's Play. Laters.